Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 126th episode of Book of Light, House of Light, the DLC for Book of Hours, our first run through YouTube playing as the archaeologist. I did mess up a little bit with glaziering and lightsmithing, so I'm going to lose the Bittersweet Certainty and the Savage Hymn in terms of my level ups. I am probably going to throw elements of the soul at that in the morning, just on the odd chance we get hit with a Numa. But otherwise, we can look forward to a salon, and then we can look forward to a. By the way, this wasn't the sin; it was the whist that did me in there. But anyways, it's just going to be a couple of memories that we need. And if we aren't in the middle of a Numa, we'll probably just keep banging away. I may even just start reading the Rose of Woznai, Book of Dissolution. I might just kind of go left to right with the exception of the Queens of the Rivers. And that's, again, just because we've had some decent momentum in terms of pushing up the various skills. I think we're at the point where we can kind of reliably read most, if not all, of the books that I want. But the big plan here is to just get us to a point where I'm intelligently picking texts from my overflow to achieve certain goals, as opposed to just having this huge backlog, which I can use for like a very specific skill, which isn't where I want it to be yet. So, and we're largely on track for that. I do need to actually start making some decisions in terms of where things go on the Tree of Wisdoms, but that's a little bit easier to do in in something like Numa, where having the extra element of the soul really does make the difference in terms of being able to achieve certain things. All right, impulse. It doesn't exactly make sense, but I understand it anyway. I have quite a bit of coffee left, it turns out. All right, orange jumble. They should be the size of teacup rims and should curl their crisp edges faintly pink as the underneath of a young mushroom. The skill is now level 7. Its power aspects have also increased. So I should probably make a decision in terms of exactly where I want Tridesma Hyra to be in terms of the overall brand. Because, I mean, there's only 2 more levels it can go, right? So it did just occur to me that I wrote down a note for Tridesma Hyra, so I'm going to erase that. I don't think I'm quite ready to put it into the Tree of Wisdoms yet. It might. I know traditionally I've usually put that in, if not the highest, at least one of the higher levels. Interesting. Okay. For some reason, I thought I had not committed stone stories to preservation. Oh, because I hadn't. It's easy to ignore the bird song. Sorry, I realize this is a little irritating, but I've been on a crusade to make sure that these things are properly ordered. All right. Yeah, so I'm not going to commit anything to the Tree of Wisdoms until we know what we're dealing with tomorrow, but I have some... At the very least, one thing I can say is if we're going to be, just for the sake of example, running with something like Auroral... Incidentally, for Auroral Contemplations, I haven't made a firm decision yet. I may... Actually, hang on. I may make a decision on Auroral Contemplations. So that would be a lantern and edge. So basically, in terms of getting the memories that I need, so we've got a sky already. In terms of likely text for me to read, so Forge, Edge, Lantern, and Moth. Oh, that doesn't give me a whole lot to work with. Alright, so Singlefoot songs. And it feels a little silly, but yes, I am going to do another Intimations of Skin, and that's just because it's three sky. This is definitely feeling like a Numa. All right, well, that's what I get. Snow and spring. And actually, funnily enough, that can go towards Glacier and Lightsmithing as well. Yearly stipend. The yearly stipend from St. Ronwin's has arrived, along with the usual rather sniffy reminder that I should spend it wisely. What's happening in the world beyond Brandkrug? What visitors will the season bring? Okay, so let's just toss that... Well, I could also turn the snow into a... something for the alchemist glassware. But the main focus will definitely be on reading the relevant texts. So I'm gonna get a little lazy here. Hieroglyphics really my highest lantern. So when I say I'm going to get lazy, what I mean by that is I'm going to use a couple of desks on something that doesn't have an obvious... Like, I'm not filling an obvious need. So in this case, reading the wonderful shape, this is just a chance for me to properly file that one. And then for the Book of Dissolution... I think we should be able to handle that one, but I might be short. Hieroglyphics, I think, is my best forge for that. Okay, no, we just add a square. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to want to do is get the relevant memories ready to go. Now there's a reasonable question here as to whether or not I would like to... I'd also like to equip Denzel for... Or anybody else for that matter. I'll maybe just take a second here and make sure I don't have anything sky-oriented. Yeah, we're good. I think... I don't hate the idea of... Oh, you know what? I should be thinking about the miner and getting enough scale to... Yeah. All right. Let's take a minute to work this out. So health brings us to 3, and then the hourglass. Brings us to 4. Now, in theory, I could use the inescapable confinement. So that brings me up to 9. So that's element of the soul, tool, memory. From there, I think we can get pretty far with fish. No. Really thought there was a 2 scale. Strathcoin whiskey should cover the... Yeah. Okay, so we can definitely get to 11. Reasonable question as to whether or not... I feel like I've done this for Denzel a couple of times, but I don't see anything written... Interesting. Okay, apparently Denzel, we need to get a little clever to push to that level. So I think hiring the miner makes sense. I'm going to take a quick second here to bring up my spreadsheet for recipes, and that's just because I have a sneaking suspicion that there's a scale food that I'm not taking into account. Right. So, yeah, I can cook higher scale things. So I could give like a marinated roast beef for the miner. But maybe that's not quite what I need. So, I don't know, the fish and the wine. But I think instead of hiring Denzel, we can go to the Sweet Bones and hire assistance from miner. It is in spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. All right. So the other thing that I want to do today, so I'm going to be leveling up Glazerian lightsmithing. But we're obviously going to be working on auroral contemplations and transformations and liberations. So that's going to mean edge and lantern, and then forge and moth. And I think my best route for that is I'll kind of just get everything. So what I mean by that is, well, okay, no, I'll focus on the unique ones first, but because I'm going to be focusing on leveling up the miners, I'll probably not have as much of an opportunity to get them to generate memories. So for lantern and edge, we would take the Ascendant. Loss would also help. And then I guess that would move me to Forge and Moth, but the funny thing is I can't really think of any Forge and Moth that I would yeah, I'm actually a little stumped on that. Okay, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to read Toward a Fundamental Aesthetic first. This will seem slightly crazy, but there is a specific plan here. while I'm at it, let's also open up package. I suppose I should... Oh yeah, sorry. I should also be working out guests for the salon. So... let's do... I like the idea of bringing Douglas in. Say Douglas, Strathcoyne, Daymare might be interesting. I think that means... I believe I need to make game chips. So do I have dripping? I do. Okay. Let's add Wakefield. Who would be the last on the list? Olympi we haven't seen in a while. Although there is something kind of funny about bringing Corso, you know? Thing is, I think Corso would probably want some Arab. I think I'm going to bring... I'll bring in Olympi. Okay, so that's going to mean Lantern, Scale, Knock, Winter. I think Madame... I know Madame Bichet requires Moth to invite, but I think she actually takes Forge for food, so... we're good for the Lantern. I think I'll probably just start making the roast beef. I'll use the core for that one because we may want to use the Arab in leveling up Auroral Contemplations. I don't think I need to make it marinated roast beef, although it does seem like I should order another roast beef joint. I guess I'll need to make potatoes, but I don't have that right now. I'm slightly tempted to make a meringue. So I wonder if I can get away with a gull's egg for a meringue. Fair enough. And I'm going to employ my health on this one first. Alright, that's a start. I should probably pour the wine now, so pour out. I guess I didn't need to pour it, it's going to wind up it's going to wind up in the miner anyway, but... Alright, I can work with this. Thus they more or less ruled themselves, with the help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. With all this, it is not to be wondered that the Tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human, but it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characters could stand comparison with the best of men. L. Russell Muirhead. Right, whatever it was, now it isn't. So right now we're just kind of waiting on a couple of books to finish reading. We'll also see what guest shows up for today. But I think I'm feeling at least pretty good in terms of what our prospects are for skills. Oh yes, this was the big order that I did. All right, so replacement T. Just gonna line this all up. Definitely should have got more sugar. Uh-oh. It has gotten slightly better. I think there was a patch from when I first noticed it, but I definitely do still feel the need to sort of drag over the screen like this. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to fit these all. Butter. I think I'll probably just put that on the same shelf as the sugar at this point. Okay, TRN then. Oh. Right, I need a free desk. All right, so for the consider verb, I think what I will do here, I know we've looked at this before, but I'll look at the genealogical chart one more time. So this is going to be so I can have a spare site to work with, which I guess technically would work with the Glacier and Lightsmithing as well, but... And I probably should have tried to make some money off of that. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made a difference for the day. So, let's talk with you about health. I'm ready to lend my limbs. Boosts heart, scale, and nectar. And I'm actually starting to run low on fish, so I should probably keep an eye out for that too. Singlefoot songs. Father Stanislav John Schaller, priest and diplomat, writes of his time on the slopes of Hoshan, near the Grove of Green Immortals, but never too near. Schaller's relations with the grove are cautious. It's a library of the tree, but under the hand of the hour named Applebright. In time, however, Schaller comes to be more sympathetic to the Applebright, which he suggests causes harm only when so invited. The Singlefoots of the title are one-horned, one-footed hill things with sweet but powerful voices, powerful enough to open the mountain. The Singlefoots sometimes trample pilgrims, sometimes heal them, sometimes coerce them to enter the mountain and become Singlefoots. Schaller explains that when he found this last becoming too tempting, he decided to return to his homeland. So that we will turn into Glacierian Lightsmithing. I'm going to skip over the intimations again. I know we haven't read it this time around, but I may also juggle the so like snow, I think I can safely get rid of here. I think I'm going to resist the temptation to, well, what I'll do is I'll get the TRN order in. I think I'll order a Strathcoyne whiskey. I think maybe 3 beef? Eason. I was actually debating on inviting him to the salon. Genealogical chart. 6 years ago, King George's heir, Edward, killed him in a quarrel over Edward's womanizing. The kingdom was saved from constitutional collapse by Henry Huddleston Abney Hastings, 13th Count of London, who claimed descent through the Plantagenet line. Heaven lift the new king. Collins was keenly interested in the history of the houses Tudor, Plantagenet, Hanover, Windsor, etc., all the way back to the days of the Leashed Flame. He has also doodled the Suppression Bureau seal by the name of King Henry's mother, Edith. Of course, Lady Edith serves as nocturnal secretary, the minister with final responsibility for the entire bureau. Wonderful shape. Blessings and invocations of the triple knot recorded at a sanctuary in Cyprus notable for its weavers, sculptors, and gardeners. The roots go deep, the knots remain. The final invocation is one for the restoration of the roots to be spoken before an altar of the triple knot, but puzzlingly, it should not be spoken by any priestess of the knot, or even by one who has been initiated into their mysteries. So that was a satisfaction text, which is a little inconvenient for me just because I'm running out of room for this stuff. I think both of these are sensible sort of double shelves. Dreaming the impossible dream here. It's probably not the best way for me to spend the end of the broadcast, but I'm committed now. Okay, I'm going to deal with that later. There we go. All right. So I was a little worried I'd reorder these in an unhelpful way. Yeah, I can work with that. All right, the Ascendant, the edgelong Dardish, boasts of her victories over her brother enemy Tareg in the days of the Shadowless Empire. Sweeter than wine, the nectar is the blood of my brother. We have raised up armies one against another. We have sated the Blackbone with the sinking of our ships. Dardish's boasting at length turns melancholy. An edgelong is half a dyad. She might not defeat her hated brother enemy without ending herself. She doesn't even want to, but she is aware, to her frustration, that she is a piece on the board, an axle on the ox cart, an essential part of the eternal engine of contention which the lionsmith and colonel use to sustain the world. The Black Book of Brittany, a volume of ink lore gifted to St. Brendan's by Brian of Brittany, who was made Earl of Cornwall after the Norman conquest. The black flower lies heavy, but the roots of the watchman's tree run deep, and they may not be hidden forever. The black flower, spoken of as a doom or guise, can be held at bay with the last ink of power brewed from the pale mixture in the presence of sufficient winter with the arts of containment. All right. Oh. It's fine. It's better when it's aired out. Towards a fundamental aesthetic, or the House of Glass, Julian Cosley considered this his masterwork. Techniques for perception and analysis which permit invidious and apocalyptic conclusions. Probably the most assiduously suppressed book in history, the entire run was destroyed, even the presses were melted and dispersed, but the manuscript edition has survived. The perfect hegemony of the hours is perhaps eternal, but Cosley proposes and describes confinement inescapable, aesthetic and optical techniques which might contain even an hour, profoundly disrupting the order of the mansus. He presents this as his own work, but there are hints here and there that he received inspiration, or even assistance from the nowhere hour named Snow. Alright, and I'm actually gonna use the meringue right away. So I believe the meringue itself is sufficient for winter, but I'll adjust the guest list accordingly if it's not. I don't know if I want to give up a whist yet, but I can't give up the health. All right, a dish with forage, grail, nectar, and winter. So there we go. And let's get glazier and lightsmithing leveled. Another fruit plucked from knowledge's tree. Improve the skill to level 4. Alright, so I think that's it for tonight. I think what I will do here, I do want to make a couple of notes just in terms of the long-term texts that I'm reading. So I'll, first of all, so I need potatoes for daymare. So I've got 2 puddings actually. So side dish, but I think I need a starter. Well, actually that's fine. I can just use almonds for a forge starter. Or is that a side? Yep, that's a side dish. So I would have... oh, maybe I can... Yeah, I can probably poach mackerel. Anyways, that'll be something I work out. That'll be something I work out tomorrow. Or rather, something I work out in the next stream. Okay, so I get potatoes. We are leveling Auroral Contemplations. Level transformations. 5. Minor to 11. Second minor to 11. All right, so that's going to be a full day. We're almost at the halfway point, so I might have to start kicking out a couple of these objectives as well. But yeah, I think probably where I'm going to go with all of this, I feel reasonably comfortable with auroral contemplations and transformations and liberations, but a lot of this is actually going to start hinging on... Did I forget to label this? I think a lot of this is going to hinge on how the salon turns out. So that... I've actually been... I don't know if I've invited Damer before. But yeah, I do want that done probably sooner rather than later. I may also want to commit some things to the Tree of Wisdoms to see if I can get a little bit further on that. But again, that depends on where I am in terms of my overall leveling plans. I'm going to move this aside here. And actually, if Glacierian Lightsmithing will be at level 4, we can move all that. Hill and Hollow is 5. All right. Shoot. All right, so actually I should move all of these over. Okay, so that still has potential. I think Sharp, yeah, Ink's, it's Edict's Inviolable that hasn't been committed yet, so. So this gives me space for Glacierian Lightsmithing to be in place. Although if it's level 4, we're gonna make sure it's, yeah. So Serpents and Venoms is the cutoff there. So Glacierian Lightsmithing will go in here. We will level Auroral Contemplations. We will level Transformations and Liberations, which is kind of at the edge here, but clearly it's going to be moving up. And with luck, I will also be opening up the Room of Rusts. Now that asks me for some metal, so I might try to make some Gervanite in between. Gervanite's pretty easy to make with amethyst ampules, which I've kept spares of. And then the Rustling Stair on its own isn't that important, but it does get me access to another part of the house. So it's something I'd like to put a little bit of effort into if I can. And then on top of that, I should take some inventory. I've been working on some of these things, but I should actually take some time to see whether or not I can build, like, I've been sort of hovering and saying that, yes, I can maybe go higher than 2 Forge, but, you know, is it really worth all of that focused effort that I'm going to need to put into it? I think there's actually a point now where I should say, okay, let's actually take the time to see how far we can get with Forge, because of course that's the lowest cost way that I can make progress through the house with Denzel. And I'm kind of lucky that I've got a couple of rooms that I can open with miner's assistance in spring. But obviously, if we can avoid waiting for a season to be able to open certain parts of the house, probably better to focus on that sooner rather than later. Anyways, this is definitely longer than I was planning. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week. Until then, take care.